is called a Tesla coil. It was invented by Nikola Tesla, who was a Serbian-American inventor and scientist who worked in the United States in the early part of the 20th century, late part of the 19th century. His most notable invention is alternating current electricity, which powers our civilization today. Prior to Tesla's inventing alternating current, we were all working on a direct current system, which was pioneered by Thomas Edison. Direct current was great, but it had limitations. It required that you have a power plant no more than 5 miles away from your house in order to have electricity. So naturally, not all corners of the globe could be powered. In fact, a lot of villages and towns, smaller towns, may have had to not have electricity because they couldn't have a power plant in their vicinity. But with alternating current, we were now able to send electricity hundreds and thousands of miles away and power the globe. So after having invented alternating current, I'm not doing this on the computer. After having invented alternating current, Nikola Tesla spent the rest of his life working on projects for the benefit of mankind, but without any profit to himself, or unfortunately the investors that invested in these projects, which caused him to lose investment several times. The Tesla coil is probably one of the most famous projects that he had, and the idea here was to give everybody free electricity and without the need of using wires at all. So this is essentially wireless electricity. There is a light down here in the chamber that says Tesla coil, and when he fires off the machine, the light lights up, but there are no wires connecting it to any other device. In fact, at the height of his research, Nikola Tesla was able to power light bulbs 2 miles away from his workshop when his coil was on. This coil was significantly larger than this one, of course. But the way the Tesla coil works is it creates an electromagnetic field, and any electrical device within the confines of the field simply turns on. Now, this was a successful invention, but unfortunately an impractical one. Because in order for us to replace our power systems today, we'd have to have a Tesla coil 10 times the size of this one on every street corner, running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you'd be walking around town and it might feel like you're stuck in a bad Star Trek episode, you know what I mean? Lightning that arcs off the top of this device ionizes the atmosphere and creates ozone, which is not good for us to breathe. It would be very polluted. Also, the power companies wouldn't know who are they going to send the bill to, right? So they wouldn't want to do this either. And lastly, the electromagnetic field would interfere with your cell phones, and other wireless devices would not work properly. And forget about Wi-Fi, that would not even be possible. So this is not a practical, something that can be used practically, but it wasn't a complete waste of time for Tesla, because you may have heard recently he was credited for having invented the radio. The radio is wireless transmission of energy, and this was its predecessor. So the work that he did on this device was helpful for him to move forward and create more stuff. Nikola Tesla was very prolific. He had hundreds of patents and hundreds of inventions credited to his name. And eventually he passed away in his mid to late 80s. By that time he was living alone in New York in a hotel room. He had spent all of his money and all his time on inventions. He had no family, no kids, no wife. He was very dedicated to his work. Unfortunately, during his lifetime, his fame was kind of marginal. He wasn't recognized for all the great work that he had done. Partially because Thomas Edison and him had a bit of a fight. Thomas Edison hated him, and he perpetuated a media campaign to make Tesla look like a mad scientist. And Tesla took photographs of himself next to his coils, which kind of made him look like Dr. Frankenstein a little bit, so it didn't help his image. But now people are really recognizing how influential Tesla was, how much he's really responsible for us having electricity. And you know, there's movies made with the Tesla coil in them, pretending that the Tesla coil clones people and cats and stuff. That's not actually true. We've tried. Prestige. Yeah, the Prestige, exactly. Our Tesla coil, we only fire it off once an hour now. It was given to the observatory in 1937, so it's very old. It has caught fire before because of the high energy involved. We start out with 220 volts in the outlet, and by the time the electricity comes out in the field, it's 500,000 volts. So the energy level is raised considerably. So it gets pretty hot, and it has caught fire before, so now we limit it to brief bursts once an hour. So anyway, I think he's done firing. Yes.
All right.
So thank you folks very much. Enjoy the rest of your day at the observatory.
Thank you.